No. Wait, I'm confused. That game proved what I've been saying.
This you can,
That Josh
that he should be in the MVP conversation.
All right, listen.
Is that true?
Let me be very.
You think he's still in the MVP race?
Let me be very clear. Justin Herbert was bad yesterday. I'm not going to try to defend that.
Okay.
But the supporting cast around him has been bad the majority of the year.
How's the defense been the majority of the year?
Well, they're allowing over 30 points per game in their 4 losses.
Right. No,
So,
but what about in their wins? So the defense, when they win, and the defense is awesome, Herbert gets the credit, and the points per game allowed in the losses.
Am I the only person that does some quarterback analysis in sports television? Yeah, that is part of it. Like yesterday, his running backs accounted for 20 yards on 10 carries, and again,
he only accounted for 80.
80 passing,
80
and
passing.
21 rushing. Yeah, again, Justin Herbert was bad, but when he is the most hit quarterback in the history of the NFL and the most pressured quarterback in the history of the NFL since as long as we've been tracking the data, and that is true. That's what it's been. When he plays less than perfect, it gets ugly. Nick, he was.
Hold on, real quick, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Because you said the history of the NFL.
Yeah, well, one of those hits we tracked through 2006. Pressures has been tracked since 2016.
Okay, all right, got it. I just want to understand. So the last 20 years.
Since tracking the.
Since tracking, yeah.
And again, like it's not the. That's fine.
Okay, as long as we have the data, Brew, it's the most pressures we've seen and the most hits we've seen. Yesterday, he was pressured on 52% of his dropbacks. Jacksonville blitzed 3 times.
Yeah.
Every time he snaps the ball, he's under pressure.
So why do you keep believing in this team?
Because he's awesome.
But okay,
and they're
but
7
so
and
that's
4, and they beat the Chiefs head up.
Right. So
normally he's good enough to overcome it.
But
Yesterday he wasn't.
but it can't be. I believe this team's good. I believe this team can go on a run. I believe this team's going to win this game. And then when they don't, and in fact it's not close, and they get annihilated, he doesn't have the horses. And it can't be that last year, when they have the #1 scoring defense in football, and this year, I think they were number 6 going into this game, that he has no help whatsoever.
This is just so obnoxious. This is just so obnoxious because Nick is literally doing the reverse of what he does with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, that's the ridiculousness. I mean, just look at the NFC Championship, the AFC Championship game in 2023. It was Patrick Mahomes outplayed and was flawless against the Baltimore Ravens. Not that the defense held Lamar Jackson and that high-powered offense to 10 points. Right? Patrick Mahomes got all the credit to win the Super Bowl in 2023. Nothing to do with the Christian McCaffrey fumble, the muffed punt, the Greenlaw injury, like nothing to do with any of that. Patrick Mahomes winning the Super Bowl in 2019, nothing to do with his defense holding Jimmy Garoppolo to 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, or whatever the heck it was. And then when Patrick Mahomes loses in the Super Bowl, it's because of the O-line. The O-line. It's like, that's weird. And you can say, but those are Super Bowls, those are this. We're just talking about regular season games. It's all one and the same, man. We're talking about blame and credit. And even just last year, I hear his O-line was apparently good enough throughout the whole course of the regular season and the playoffs. And then against the Philadelphia Eagles, it was, what do you want him to do? And his receivers, there was no Rashee Rice, there was no this. And we said, yeah, but doesn't Patrick Mahomes at least get credit for going that far? And it's like, yeah, okay. Justin Herbert has an even worse team, an even worse defense, an even worse O-line, an even worse receiving core, an even worse running game. Isn't it remarkable that they're even remotely competent? Who has a worse roster right now, the Chargers or the Chiefs? The answer is obviously the Chargers. The O-line's worse. The run, it's just Justin Herbert's getting pressured at an insane, a literal historic alarming rate. And they're 7-4. It's better than what the Kansas City Chiefs are right now. So it's just so remarkable that Nick keeps doing this. And he knows he's doing this. That when Justin Herbert wins, he wants to take away the credit from him. He wants to minimize that credit. When he loses, he wants Justin Herbert to get all of the blame. And that when they win, he wants to say, well, they're clearly good enough to win. And then so if he loses, it's just, of course, then Justin Herbert's not good enough. And it doesn't make any sense. That line of logic literally makes no sense. Because under that logic, then, if you believe in the team or if you believe in the quarterback, then they should just go undefeated. Like, it doesn't make any rational sense to keep creating these types of arguments. It doesn't make any sense. And he did the same thing with Josh Allen as well. Josh Allen, who had 3 touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, and 3 rushing touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and everyone was like, gosh, Josh Allen was amazing. Rightfully so. That's how you should feel when you see that game. And he goes, nobody wants to give him any blame for the game against the Miami Dolphins. And it's just like, do you want him to average 6 total touchdowns every single game? I don't understand. Like, what are we saying? And when the Chiefs were losing in the beginning of the season, he just kept saying, just wait until Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are there. You just kind of have to survive. And then when they came back and Patrick Mahomes had a little bit of momentum, he said, see, that's who Patrick Mahomes is when you protect him and when you give him receivers he trusts. And it's like, okay. But then when they win, you don't say it was because of Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice. And when they lose, you're like, defense wasn't good enough. O-line wasn't good enough. And it's just like, huh? So we're both at one side of the argument acknowledging that the team matters, but then we're minimizing the impact of the team. When a quarterback like Justin Herbert is able to overcome the issues of his team, but he's now somehow expected to be able to just constantly be able to overcome these issues week after week after week after week. It doesn't make any sense. Like, of course not. It just the argument is actually that Nick keeps trying to put forward is just so ridiculous that by nature it almost becomes like uncomfortable to debate. It becomes like, I don't know how to actually really debate this, because what you're creating this conversation that becomes almost unwinnable because the logic is so flawed and so absurd. I mean, because at the core of it, he's saying when they win, and Justin Herbert will get pressured like 24 times or something, and they're able to win. And Justin Herbert in that moment is able to be like heroic. He's able to make a big throw. He's able to get the job done. And he's like, see, that's proof that this team is good enough. And then when he loses, when he just can't in that moment overcome that burden, it's because Justin Herbert's not good enough. And it's just like, well, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And I'll leave you with this, because Nick had been praising Baker Mayfield and said that's why he's the MVP at the beginning of the season. Oh, he's got Ibuka's out and Godwin's out and blah, 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 blah. They got all these injuries. Baker's the MVP. He's the top quarterback in the NFL. Something that I ripped. He's better than Justin Herbert. Something that I ripped. Now Baker is not playing like the MVP. He's not playing good enough. Is it then because Baker's a bad quarterback? Because Nick still thinks that Baker is a top quarterback. He thinks he's a bona fide top quarterback in the NFL. I'm sure he'll be forced to drop him on his quarterback mountain. We'll see if he's above or below Justin Herbert. But it's just like, well, Was then he never not good? Was it proof then that his team was actually good enough? And then what happened? Because when he was winning some of those games and having big plays, like you say, oh, he's missing his receiver, but Ibuka was playing out of his mind. Ibuka was playing like a number one wide receiver. So then does it matter who's playing or who's not? Like he's playing, but do you want to give all that credit to Baker Mayfield? What about the Todd Bowles defense? You didn't want to give any credit to that? So it's just like, where do we land here? How do we have this conversation? Is it by acknowledging that you can be individually great, you can be individually the greatest quarterback of all time, and yet you still need support around you? Do we need to acknowledge that no matter how amazing you are, no matter how gifted, no matter how talented you are, you can only do so much at any given moment? No matter how gifted you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how brilliant you are, that you're maybe going to have some bad games? Or do we want to keep inventing the scenario that someone like Patrick Mahomes, because the reason why I'm bringing up Patrick Mahomes is because that's the lens that Nick looks at this through, that Patrick is perfect. And so then when we compare it to a Justin Herbert, it's just like, if you're not perfect, get out of here. And again, after this game, Nick said Patrick Mahomes was perfect. In a game against the 49ers where they won 28-18, Patrick Mahomes was 16 for 27, 154 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 44.4. And he said that Patrick Mahomes was perfect. They rushed for 39 times and 184 yards. I mean, hello? I mean, Justin Herbert and this roster right now, he's got a higher completion percentage than Patrick Mahomes, more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes, more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes, a few more interceptions, no doubt, a higher PFF offensive rating of 85.7 to Patrick Mahomes' 72.3. I mean, double the turnover-worthy plays for Patrick Mahomes at 16. Justin Herbert, 8. Adjusted completion percentage, so factoring in drops, 76.7%. Patrick Mahomes, 74.4%. And being pressured 182 times compared to Patrick Mahomes' 132 times. And the passer rating is about a toss-up, 94.2 to 95.9. And that's with a roster that Nick says is the best in the NFL. Is the best team in the NFL. I mean, he's struggling saying that right now, of course. So he's going to have to, but he was literally saying best team in the NFL. And he actually said that they're the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. That's what he said. Said it on this very show. So those are the numbers that Patrick Mahomes is putting up. With the greatest coach of all time, on one of the greatest teams of all time, and the most dangerous team, and yet that's what he's doing. So then the fact that the Chiefs are 5-5, is that all because of Patrick Mahomes? Or will you give other reasons why? When Patrick Mahomes lost to the Buffalo Bills and they were pressured, and he was pressured all that time, did you say, well, they were missing this guy, they were missing that guy? When you lost to the Chargers and the Eagles, were you like, well, we didn't have Xavier Worthy. Well, Rashee Rice wasn't there. Which is it? We gotta be consistent. I mean, you know what's so hilarious? The Chargers have 1,273 rushing yards, since we want to talk about the team. And the Kansas City Chiefs have 1,153. So it's like about a toss-up. Remember, the Chiefs also have played one less game, so that would be balanced out. They have 12 rushing touchdowns. 12 rushing touchdowns. Kareem Hunt himself with 6 alone. The Chargers have 5 rushing touchdowns. Is that Justin Herbert's fault? I'd love to know. Is that Justin Herbert's fault? Justin Herbert's also making up 345 rushing yards for his team's rushing stats. Patrick Mahomes, 288. Justin Herbert's averaging 6.4 yards per carry. Patrick Mahomes, 6. I just find it interesting. And then you want to talk about those wins for the Chargers and how good the defense was. I mean, the first win for the Chiefs, they held the Giants to 9 points. The Ravens, 37-20. They didn't even really have 20 points. That was like, garbage stuff. They were forcing turnovers on Lamar. That defense made Lamar see stars immediately. The Lions were averaging 30 plus points per game, held them to 17. The Raiders, that defense held the Raiders to 0 points. The Commanders, 7. Defense, get any praise for those wins? Or were people saying that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP? Was Patrick Mahomes considered the MVP? So hold on. Patrick Mahomes is getting more run support. Better O-line play. Better coaching. Better defense. Better receiver play. And yet he's the MVP? And Justin Herbert is, nah. Nick's trying to emphasize defense here. 18.1 points per game. 4th in the NFL. 4th. Oh, that's weird. The Chargers seemingly have a worse defense. That's weird. If his defense was as good as the Patrick Mahomes' defense, would they have beat the New York Giants? Yeah, I think so. How about if they held the Commanders to 7 points? Yeah, I think so. And if they held the Giants to the 9 points? Yeah, I think so. How about the Indianapolis Colts? If they held them to like 18 or so points, would they have won? Yeah, I think so. That's so weird. And then you want to celebrate the defense for holding the Minnesota Vikings to 10, which is great, but the Chargers scored 37. They scored 27 against the Titans. They scored 29 against the Miami Dolphins, who gave up 27 points too, as well. So, yet, we want to emphasize the defense there? That's weird. That's weird. Because against the Philadelphia Eagles, your defense held the Eagles to 20 points. Just wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough. I guess you really need a team to get down 18. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars, they scored 31 and wasn't good enough. Darn. The Buffalo Bills, 28 wasn't good enough. The Broncos, 22 points. Couldn't break that 20 mark. Rough. I mean, it is pretty crazy that the Chiefs are averaging about a field goal more points than the Chargers. And that's with an O-line and run game that is absolutely, positively decimated. What does that say about the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes? And what does that say about the heroics of Justin Herbert. That's why I made that video weeks ago, showing you that Justin Herbert, under these awful circumstances, has actually played better than Patrick Mahomes in significantly better circumstances. Not like, hey, let's look at both these quarterbacks under bad circumstances. Let's look at them, Justin Herbert, in his worst conditions and compare them to Patrick Mahomes in his best conditions. Let's not forget that Justin Herbert also has an on-target pass percentage of 73.1%, with obviously a significantly worse O-line, as we've established. And Patrick Mahomes is 64.7%. Man, it kind of makes you think. If Patrick Mahomes was on the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers, I don't know, man. This might be like a 3-win team or a 4-win team. Wow. It's getting a little hot in here. I don't know. I don't think we're ready to have that conversation yet. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Justin Herbert and the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers? Are you ready to abandon Herbert and the Chargers, the team that's actually in the playoffs, compared to the Kansas City Chiefs that's actually not? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.